come on home.
Home to the light and light.
Home to the light and light.
It's time to come on home.
To the light and light.
It's time to come on home.
Time to come on home.
It's time to come on home.
Home to the light and light.
The power of compassion.
The power of your love.
That will never stand tall.
Fear there is no way.
Come join your family. Come join your family. From all the faraway lands. It's time to come on home.
To the light and light.
It's time to come on home.
Time to come on home.
It's time to come on home.
Home to the light and light.
Favorite Buddha land.
Your favorite Buddha land
resides in your heart.
resides in your heart.
Like your shining light.
Like your shining light.
It's time to come on home.
To the light and light.
It's time to come on home. It's time to come on home.
To the light and light.
Inspired in your practice.
Leaders virtue.
Peace is joy awaken. Bodhisattvas have
Bodhisattvas have
vowed
vowed
to spread the primal vow.
to spread the primal vow.
Don't rest now, don't you rest.
Don't rest now, don't you rest.
It's time to come on home.
To the light and light.
It's time to come on home.
Time to come on home.
It's time to come on home.
Home to the light and light.
It's time to come on home. It's time to come on home. Home to the light and light. There is a square upon the floor, an island in the sea, a place I visit every week, a spot that's just for me. When I sit upon that square, I leave my cares outside. All anger is forgotten. The Dharma is my guide. There is a special something here. It's something you can see. For kindness lives within this place. It lives inside of me. Amrita stands inside the shrine, a smile upon his face. I smile right back. I'm glad to be here in this special place. Now there's time to sit and think of all that I can do to care for those around me each day, the whole week through. This is a home to gentle thoughts when sitting quietly. For kindness lives within this place. It lives inside of me. It lives inside of me. say thank you for the path so brightly lit, guides me safely through this day. And I thank you so, and I thank you so, for this love we all share. I offer as I am these words of thanks every day.
Welcome to the 2021 National Council meeting, Dharmathon. Today we will have 4 wonderful speakers. The first speaker is Reverend Fumiaki Uzuki. I'd like to ask Reverend Henry Adams to introduce him.
At this time, we will have a photo montage. I hope you enjoy these scenes from the life and ministry of Reverend Fumiaki Uzuki. At this time, it is my honor to introduce the Reverend Fumiaki Uzuki. Reverend Fumiaki Uzuki was born in Kagoshima, Japan, and came to Oxnard, California in 1960 with his mother and his brother. He attended Oxnard High School and was involved with track, football, and wrestling. He received a Bachelor of Arts degree and a Master of Arts degree from San Jose State University in Industrial Technology with a minor in Business and Education. He was an instructor in the Department of Industrial Technology, specializing in computer-aided design and manufacturing at San Jose State University for 8 years. He worked in the computer and technology industry in San Jose and Silicon Valley and was the owner of a private business and a business development consultant. He received his master's in Jodo Shinshu from the Institute of Buddhist Studies in Berkeley in May of 2000. He is a past president of the Watsonville Buddhist Temple, a Dharma school teacher for both high school, college, and adults. He received Tokudo and Kyoshi ordinations in Kyoto in December of 2000 and received his Kaikyoshi status in the year 2001. He served as a resident minister of the Los Angeles Honpo Honganji Buddhist Temple from February 2001 to October 2004. Then he served as resident minister of the West Los Angeles Buddhist Temple from November 2004 to February 2020. He is married to Reverend Patricia Kanaya Uzuki, retired minister of the San Fernando Valley Buddhist Temple, and he has 2 grown children. His hobbies include golf, restoring old cars, primarily muscle cars. You saw some images of that in the photos. He enjoys travel, and he is a general handyman at the West LA Buddhist Temple. Reverend Uzuki retired from the ministry February 2020. And at this time, we are very fortunate to receive a Dharma talk from Reverend Fumiaki Uzuki.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to this very important event. First, I would like to thank West LA Buddhist Temple for providing the professional video and the use of the facility. And it is so nice to be back at this very beautiful temple. There are other retired ministers who are waiting to speak, so I would try not to take too much time. Let us begin with a reading of a passage. I'm sure many of you know this passage from D.T. Suzuki, and it has given me comfort and relevance for many years, and I still rely on it for my daily life. The title of this passage is Shinran. Please join me in Gassho. To whom do I owe my present state of mind? To the founder, Shinran, and to his successor, Renyo. Being taught by these spiritual leaders, I have now come to this realization. My knowledge has come through all the good teachers who have successfully transmitted this teaching. How praiseworthy they are. While worrying over my daily life, fretting about things wanted and wanting, I am all the time in the company of Amida himself. How grateful I am. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. I'm sure there are many of you who may not know all the retiring ministers. Our temples are spread across this big country, and we don't really get to meet on a casual basis. So before we disappear into the sunset, I'd like to thank the committee for putting on this meaningful event and allowing us to talk to new and also old Dharma friends. I'm a Japanese immigrant, and my family came to the United States in 1960 when I was 9 years old. As soon as we landed here, we were embraced by Oxnard Buddhist Temple, their members, and our life seemed to have been safely secured. It certainly was comforting for our mother, who is still going strong at 95 years. So we were asked today to speak on the work as a minister and also as a member of our community. The request was, look back upon your many years of service and give us guidance in how we can proceed into the next generation of Nembutsu followers. Also look upon this as an opportunity for you to give what you feel as the most important message of teaching. Well, this is a tall order, and how each of us embrace the Dharma can be very different and also very personal. Also, just because we are older doesn't mean that we are no longer relevant. I truly believe that this point of our life is most rewarding because we were so busy managing our temple affairs and serving the members, and time seemed to have flown by. As you know, minister's job is 24/7, and whether we took the time off or went on vacation, the temple and Onembutsu never left our minds. So today, as it is with most days, it is a great day to be a Jodo Shinshuas. There is a famous passage promoted in the TV commercial that many of you may have seen, and it has relevance to us, I think. It goes like this. Please listen carefully. This is what we do. As we get older, there's no need to prove ourselves or feel that we left something on the table. I believe my colleagues have come to know that it was always the teaching, the Onembutsu, that continues to bring all of us closer and closer together. Everything else is an added blessing. Now that we had some time to think about our work in the BCA and our relationship with so many wonderful people, they have also become the source of our joy and gratitude. Many years ago, I had a chance to visit my family in Kagoshima, Japan, when my grandmother was ill, and also to visit my family gravesite. This also turned out to be my reconfirmation of the Onenbutsu. I'm sure my Japan family was thought this was rather strange to become a minister, especially in the U.S. Who would leave Japan to be a minister or bosan? But they were very accommodating, and we managed to laugh about it. So looking back on my busy time with the BCA and the temples I had the honor of serving, I am very grateful to have shared our life together. Thank you. I was a working man in the Silicon Valley when I became interested in the Dharma, and that was over 30 or 40 years ago. It was a very interesting and exciting period when we had many unique and interesting teachers who guided us through their life experiences with the incoming students, and this was for us living the Nembutsu. The teachers I would like to thank today are Reverend Kusada, Reverend Eidman, Dr. Ken Tanaka, Dr. Eisho Nasu, Dr. David Matsumoto, Dr. Richard Payne, and many others who help students with our careers. I don't think many of you remember Reverend Kusada, whom we refer to as a great monk within us. I had the privilege of studying with him in his old home in Berkeley, where his house, from the entrance to the back kitchen, was filled with boxes and what I called stuff. We could hardly move around in the inside of the house, so we sat together in a small kitchen table and talked. Many people called him a monk, but to me, he was a true teacher of the Dharma and perhaps a living Buddha. This was many years ago before the Jodo Shinshu Center was built. So why am I telling you all this? Because Jodo Shinshu in the West have grown so much due to the great work of our many early teachers and students. And I don't think there's a real need to worry about where we will go from here or in the future, because we are already part of this worldwide Dharma movement. I truly believe that it will take care of itself with the influx of many new people who come to study at the Jodo Shinshu Center. So I would like to thank and congratulate all the teachers, staff, and colleagues who are part of this great program. I'm sure all of you have a favorite passage that connects you to life at this very moment and help you further deepen your mind and heart. Perhaps you may know this famous passage from Reverend Kenyu Tsuji called Time. This is one of my favorite passages as well. I will close with this passage and yield my time to the next speaker. Please join me in closing Gassho. In the beginningless, endless flow of time, each life is a mere ripple, existing only for an instantaneous moment and disappearing forever. But each life is a unique experience with beauty and truth all of its own, with no identical counterpart in history, and none absolutely the same in the future. Your life, my life, is attuned to the rhythm of the cosmos and to the heartbeat of reality. Each life exists in the eternal now. Reverend Kenyu Tsuji. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much.
Today is my honor and privilege to present Certificate of Recognition to Reverend Fumiaki Uzuki. I would like to read the following certificate. In recognition of your 19 years of dedicated service as a Kaikyoshi of the Buddhist Churches of America, this certificate of appreciation is presented to you on this occasion of your retirement with deepest gratitude and appreciation. Thank you for helping to nurture the seed of the Nembutsu teaching here in America. May our life continue to be guided by Amida's infinite wisdom and compassion. Reverend Uzuki was fortunate in that he was able to have his retirement banquet last year, just before the COVID-19 got worse, and I was able to attend that wonderful banquet as well. Reverend Uzuki has been the kind of minister that's been not afraid to roll up his sleeves and to work hard with all the members. He was not only the minister, but he made so many wonderful repairs and fixed up things around the temple. I think one of his great contributions to the West LA temple that he served in his second assignment was building all of the taiko drums and stands for their taiko group. We're deeply grateful for his years of service at the LA Betsuin and at West LA Buddhist Temple. We hope that he will enjoy his retirement and fix up lots of wonderful cars. His cars are amazing. Thank you, Fumi Sensei, for your many years of dedicated service. Congratulations. He will also be receiving a certificate from the Honganji and a retirement gift from the BCA. Thank you.
The next speaker is Yukiko Motoyoshi. Before I introduce her, please let me share with you the photo montage of Reverend Motoyoshi. I hope you enjoy the photo montage of Reverend Motoyoshi. Now, please let me briefly introduce her. Reverend Yukiko Motoyoshi was born in Tokyo, Japan in May 1950 as the first daughter of the late Reverend Sachihide Motoyoshi and Mrs. Sonoe Motoyoshi. She then moved to Hawaii and graduated from Kawau High School on Big Island. After receiving BA from University of Hawaii at Hilo, she then attended graduate school at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, majoring in Buddhist studies. She took Tokudo ordination in October 1977 and received the Kyoshi certificate in March 1978 from the Jodo Shinshu Honganji-ha. As a Kaikyoshi minister, she was assigned to the Honpa Honganji Mission of Hawaii, Hilo Betsuin, Mililani Honganji, Rifue Honganji, and Hawaii Betsuin. She then moved to Buddhist Churches of America and was assigned to the Buddhist Church of Stockton. Reverend Motoyoshi was one of the keynote speakers of the 16th World Buddhist Women's Convention in 2019. Now we would like to have a Dharma message from Reverend Motoyoshi. よろしくお願いします。
Please join me in Gassho. With the minds of full of malice and cunning, like snakes or scorpion, we cannot accomplish good act through self-power. And unless we entrust ourselves to Amida's directing of virtue, we will end without knowing shame or self-reproach. Thank you. I started my ministry in May 1978 in Hawaii. Since then, I was very fortunate to be able to serve the Nembutsu Sangha till June of last year. When I started my ministry, I never dreamed to serve the Sangha for this long. Throughout my life, I started many projects, activities, or hobbies, like Girl Scout, calligraphy, tennis, aerobic, diet, and so on. But I was not able to stick not even one of them. I suppose I am a kind of person who does not have any patience, endurance, or not being able to keep my interest. However, I was able to remain in the minister's position for this long. For one thing, I love being a minister. Personally, I think the ministry is the best job in the entire universe. But mainly, I was able to do so because of countless support of others that I have received throughout ministry. I thank you all, my colleagues, members, and friends of the temple, and of course, countless causes and conditions. At any rate, as I mentioned previously, I was able to retire in June of last year. For several years prior to my retirement, I was imagining what my retirement life would be. I imagined a very quiet and relaxing retirement life. Absolutely no stress, no phone call, no email, and of course, no sermon. I was imagining going for shopping any day of the week, having a leisurely breakfast at a very quiet restaurant, maybe once a week, staying up late or sleeping late. And on Sunday, I would come to Buddhist Church of Stockton Sunday service, sitting together with the Reverend Hasegawa, and would enjoy listening to the Dharma at the Gejin, not the Naijin. Unfortunately, what I was dreaming after my retirement and what actually happened were completely different. There was, after all, COVID-19. Like all of you, I have been stuck in my house, alone with my mother, who is 104 years old. No shopping, no breakfast at the restaurant, and, of course, no temple services. This past several months with the COVID-19 taught me how true is a teaching of impermanence and how egocentric I am. We all know that we all live in the world of impermanence. I have been sharing this fundamental truth of Buddhism to the Sangha for many decades. I should know about it better than anyone else. Yet, when it actually happened to me, I lost it. I remember that Buddhist Church of Stockton closed its door due to the pandemic on March 15. We had scheduled to observe Spring Higan on March 17. I thought Dharma cannot be stopped. Even though we canceled the service, I would come to the temple and open the door of Hondo and welcome whoever chosen to venture out and listen to the Dharma. When I look back now, I think I was not able to accept the changes, but I was not able to fully comprehend the seriousness of virus. At that time, I strongly felt I must continue what I have been doing. There is a phrase, show must go on. It may not be very appropriate to think that way, but that time I felt that so. I thought, well, we don't have to chant sutra, sing a gatha, or even offer the incense. We can keep a distance from each other. I must share the Dharma to those who need to hear in this crisis. It is the duty of the minister. Sound noble, doesn't it? Well, a good member of the temple, whom I respect immensely, called me and made me aware of how selfish I was. The member said, I understand your dedication to the Dharma, but you must first think of safety of others. This member made me realize two things: difficulty of truly accepting the impermanence, and how deep my ego rooted within myself. I was not able to accept the impermanence just as it is because of my ego. I desperately tried things to remain sane. And if things have to change, then I wanted to have a control of this unwanted to change and transform it into the way I want to. One thing I learned from coping the pandemic is that importance of having another people. As I look back, the hardest thing I had to deal with was moving into a new house after my retirement. I had to pack and unpack everything all by myself while caring for my mother, who just couldn't comprehend what was going on. After we moved into the new house, I had to sleep on the sofa in the living room right outside of my mother's bedroom for about 2 months. Because my mother was not able to adjust to the new environment, she had hard time sleeping. She woke up several times a night, looked for me or her deceased husband, my father, or tried to get out from the house. Even during the daytime, I couldn't leave her alone for a period of time because she constantly tried to get out from the house. I made sure that all doors and windows were locked when I have to go out. Amazingly, she did escape once and roam around the neighborhood. Fortunately, my next door neighbor took her back safely. I was emotionally and physically exhausted. I was able to go on thanks to my sister. My sister, who lived in Hawaii, could not travel to Stockton to help me out because of the pandemic. She worried about me so much that she started to call me every day and listen to my monku complain. In Japanese, ningen means a human being. It is made of two Chinese characters, person and between or among. This between or among can be distance between two or more people, or relationship among two or more people. I am not a language scholar, so I do not know what is the true origin or true meaning of the word ningen. However, when I see this word, I always think of how I exist. The word between presupposes the existence of others. I often enjoy solitude. I enjoy eating alone or traveling alone. However, I absolutely cannot live by myself. For my basic living necessity, I have to rely on others, such as food, clothing, water, electricity, and so on. Besides my basic necessity, Emotionally and psychologically, I do need others to support, sustain, comfort, sympathize, and nurture me. One of the hardest things living in this pandemic is not being able to have in-person interaction with others. We need others to be acknowledged, confirm, and empathize our physical existence and emotions. I am very grateful to my sister. She patiently listened to my monku without judgment. We remark, acknowledge my anger, frustration, and lamentation, and comfort me. This enables me to keep my sanity. Hence, therefore, I'm able to regain strength and energy to face another day. Without my sister, I don't think how I was able to live and care for my mother. Without her, it is a great possibility that I might have caused some physical harms to my mother or to myself. I really cannot thank my sister enough. Although I appreciate my sister tremendously, she is not the ultimate solution for my difficulties living in this crisis. When you're sick, an over-the-counter medication may alleviate the pain temporarily. However, you are not completely cured unless the cause of illness is defined clearly and removed. During this pandemic, I really appreciated the Nembutsu. The Nembutsu made me realize the cause of my difficulties lie within myself, not on someone else. My anger and frustration towards the world or my mother are originating from my none other than self-centeredness. I want the world the way I want to be. I want my mother to be young, healthy, and independent like before, and so on. It is nothing but the world of me, me, me. Recently, I often think of Wasan I read at the beginning of my talk. It is a Wasan from Shinran Shonin Shouzo Matsu Wasan, Hymns of the Dharma Age. Let me recite again. With minds full of malice and cunning, like snakes or scorpions, we cannot accomplish good act through self-power. And unless we entrust ourselves to Amida's directing of virtue, we will end without knowing shame or self-reproach. Each time I become frustrated or irritated with the world or my mother, the first line, with minds full of malice and cunning, like snakes or scorpion, comes to my mind. Shinran Shonin was describing me. Let me explain. Have you seen the commercial about two little girls sitting in front of the plate with the chocolate pieces? The voice asks two girls, take one if you are tallest. If they feel they are such person, then they can pick a piece of chocolate. The last question was, take one if you love to share. Both of them paused for a moment. Then one girl picked the chocolate and gave it to another girl. I love this commercial. She gained the chocolate but gave it away. Interestingly, the girl who picked the chocolate did not hesitate, not even a moment when she gave it away. This commercial ends with giggle. I think the giggles belong to the girl who shared the chocolate. To me, that is a practice of true dana, the selfless giving. You give not because you're a better person or you expect something in return. You give just because you can. The little girl didn't get chocolate, but she gets something else. The little girl probably found joy in sharing. How beautiful, how wonderful. if I was in this commercial, what do I do? Well, of course, I would pick the chocolate immediately and break it into two and share its half with the other girls. I fulfilled an act of giving. After all, I am a minister. I have an image to keep. Added to that, I was able to keep some part of the goodie to myself. Here I have to confess, if the person whom I'm sharing a chocolate is not my favorite person, then I may not share it all. I probably think, I love to share with others, but not with this person. Moreover, if the things that I'm sharing is something I love, then I probably give the smaller pieces to other person. But if it is something I don't care, like rakkyo, pickled Japanese scallion, then I would give it all to others. Can you see how calculated and cunning person I am? It is certainly not the practice of true Dharma. Sadly, that is the true nature of the person called Yukiko. As I care for my mother, this calculated Yukiko constantly popping out. I am certainly a person who possesses the mind of snakes and scorpions. Amida Buddha's wisdom light illuminates my whole beings and reveals my true nature. When I become angry at my mother, the Nembutsu enables me to see the origin of that very anger. The awareness certainly puts a brake on my action. In other words, knowing the cause of anger does not lie on my mother, but on me. I can refrain myself from saying harsh words and can become more patient, gentle, and compassionate towards my mother. Without the Nembutsu, there will be no remorse, no shame, or no humility. Moreover, the Nembutsu enables me to realize that despite my self-centeredness, Amida Buddha never ever abandons me. That comforts me and enables me to be humble and sincere. In the midst of coping this pandemic and caring for my mother, I realize how important to live with an Nembutsu. Now, please do not think that I am living completely peaceful with my mother. Every single day, every single minute are very challenging to me. I am aware of my self-centeredness. Yet this shameful self-centeredness springs out unceasingly. It means listening to the Nembutsu is a lifetime thing. It will continue till I take my last breath. I have only one life to live, and this life sustained and nurtured by so many living and non-living beings. It is simply too precious to be wasted. In order for me to have a meaningful and true life, there is only one path, the path of the Nembutsu. I must continue to listen to the Nembutsu. Thank you very much for listening. I again would like to thank all of you who made my ministry so joyful and so fun. Lastly, I would like to thank Reverend Candice Shibata for allowing me to use Buddhist Church of Stockton's Hondo, and Darlene and Charlie Backshaw for recording my Dharma message. Without them, I did not have any means, absolutely no means, to participate in this Dharmathon. Again, thank you all. Let us put our hand in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure to present to Reverend Yukiko Motoyoshi the following certificate that reads, "In recognition of your 40 years of dedicated service as a Kaikyoshi, of the Buddhist Churches of America and also including years of service in Hawaii. This certificate of appreciation is presented to you on this occasion of your retirement with deepest gratitude and appreciation. Thank you for helping to nurture the seed of the Nembutsu teaching here in America. May your life continue to be guided by Amida's infinite wisdom and compassion. Reverend Yukiko Motoyoshi, I think, will probably look back at her long and illustrious ministerial career and see one of her highlights as the tremendous Dharma message she gave at the World FBWA conference in San Francisco. It was just such a tremendous message, and we all felt so proud that she was a minister in our BCA. We wish you the best in your retirement. Please take care, and thank you for so many wonderful years. Congratulations. Reverend Motoyoshi will also be receiving a certificate from the Honganji and a retirement gift on behalf of the BCA. Thank you very much.
At this time, we will have a photo montage of the scenes from the ministry and the life of Reverend Patricia Kanaya Uzuki. Hope you enjoy these images. At this time, I'm honored to introduce the Reverend Patricia Kanaya Uzuki. Reverend Patricia Kanaya Uzuki, following a career in the Canadian Foreign Service, first studied the Nembutsu teaching in earnest while living in Kanazawa, Japan in the late 1990s. She lived and worked at the Kokusaibu Honganji International Center as a European language specialist and English language editor. She was involved in the special project, the editing and production of Jodo Shinshu, a guide. She's a graduate of Chuo-Bukkyo Gakuin in Kyoto, the Chuo-Bukkyo Gakuin Seminary, and received her Tokudo in Kyoshi, ordination and certification there during her studies. Following her graduation from Chubutsu, she studied at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, graduating with a Master of Arts in Buddhist Studies from the Graduate Theological Union. Her thesis, completed during her IBS studies, was published as a book, Currents of Change, American Buddhist Women Speak Out on Jodo Shinshu, And if you have not read it, I highly recommend it. It's excellent and continues to be a timely piece of scholarship and provides much valuable insight for us in our Sangha today. Reverend Patricia Uzuki served as resident minister at the San Fernando Valley Honganji Buddhist Temple from 2004 to 2020 and was elected as Gicho in 2018. She retired in August of 2020. So we're very grateful to Reverend Uzuki for taking this time to share her reflection and appreciation of the Dharma with us this afternoon. Reverend Uzuki, thank you for your talk.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to echo what my husband said, and we are very grateful to West LA Buddhist Temple for recording this, pre-recording this a week early. And thank you to the organizers for giving us this opportunity to give one, maybe last Dharma talk. So if you join me in Gassho, please. These are words of Shinran Shonin from his preface to the Kyogyo Shinsho. Rare is it to come upon the sacred scriptures from the westward land of India and the commentaries of the masters of China and Japan, but now I've been able to encounter them. Rare is it to hear them, but already I've been able to hear. Here I rejoice in what I have heard and extol what I have attained. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandabs, Namandabs, Namandabs. So hi again, everyone, and yes, it's me. If you haven't seen me between last year and now, like many of you, I haven't been able to go to the hairdresser in such a long time or do lots of the things that we used to take for granted, like getting together with people and going out, dining out, traveling, and so on. It's been such a disappointing year for so many people on so many levels, from those who couldn't do things that were happily anticipated or planned, like proms and graduations and weddings, to those who have lost jobs, incomes, or worse, or those who knew someone who died and couldn't even visit them or gather together for comfort or for funerals and services. We have so much to feel down about, and yet here we are. In the opening reading, Shinran Shonin, who also lived through tragic and troubled times, rejoices because thanks to others from the distant past, he has encountered a teaching that has brought him lasting peace of heart and peace of mind. He knows without any doubt that no matter what, he is sustained by infinite life, and he can go on. In fact, he's so grateful for this realization that he spends the rest of his life finding ways to clarify the teaching for those around him. And here we are today in America. Is this teaching still clear for us in this land and in this era? This National Council meeting is unlike any other that we've ever had. If you've sat through hours of meetings and workshops already, I bow my head to you for still looking at your screen now, or maybe you're just tuning in for the Dharma messages. Either way, I hope you can take away something that'll help you, because as human beings, we are also always going to face difficulties in our lives, not just in times of global pandemics. Wouldn't it be great to know how we can meet these challenges with equanimity and just keep going? We are not alone. We're all in this together, in the great flow of timeless existence. Whatever we're doing today is just a fragmentary part of us and a part of our lives, and each of our lives is just a fragmentary part of infinite life that has flowed from the distant past and will flow into the distant, unknown future, despite our best calculations. Shinran talks about the lineage of teachers from India, China, and Japan that led to his understanding. We in turn also study Shinran's words and those of others who have come after him. Because of the teachings as clarified by Shinran, abiding peace has been awakened in the hearts of many, even as they have gone through difficulties and even unspeakable hardship. Shinran was drawn to clarify this teaching for the Japanese people of his day out of a sense of gratitude and joy. In turn, countless others have shared their experience of the Nembutsu through the ages. On reflection, there is no beginning and no end to our teaching that transcends time and place and exists for everyone. Heading up those teachers of India, China, and Japan was Shakyamuni Buddha, also a real person. To think of the countless beings, not to mention the myriad causes and conditions that had come together to bring about the life of Shakyamuni Buddha, and from him to the scholar monks of many places and times, to Shinran Shonin, to centuries of Nembutsu followers in Japan, to those of us outside of Japan, is absolutely mind-boggling. And at every step, because of differences in language and culture, people communicated by interpreting clearly for those around them the heart of the Buddha Dharma, rooted in all that they had received from their teachers. We can pay tribute to them by carrying on that deep meaning in a way that speaks to others. Though we all flow together in the great current of life, each of us has our causes and conditions that makes our input unique in some way. Thanks to the fact that my grandfathers were both not the firstborn sons of their families, they emigrated to Canada. Thanks to discrimination, the war, and internment camps, their families ended up in a cosmopolitan city they probably never dreamt of going to. And thanks to post-war opportunity, I grew up in a working-class neighborhood where every neighbor seemed to be from a different racial or ethnic background, and it was normal to hear many different languages and spend time in the homes of many different cultures. I'll fast forward through the causes and conditions that brought me to leave my first two careers as a civil servant with the Government of Canada, and then as a school teacher, and then go to Japan. I felt somehow as though I were being pulled there, but not because of any interest in my ethnic heritage or in Japanese culture. Long story short, I soon encountered the Nembutsu teaching. Hearing it was like a revelation. It explained my life to me, why it sometimes puzzled me that my life was so good, how I was able to survive when terrible things happened, how something made me strong even at the most daunting or darkest of times. Since I had the freedom to do so, my sole purpose was to learn more about this amazing teaching. Again, thanks to causes and conditions, a background in European languages, and a network of people, I was offered a job and a place to live at the Honganji International Center at our head temple in Kyoto. It was like being a kid in a candy shop, getting to hear not only many learned teachers, but also others, like my Honganji colleagues, international students in the dorm, and people who came to visit. Eventually, I was allowed to study at Chuo Bukkyo Gakuin Seminary and receive Tokudo and Kyoshi, thanks to the hard work, selflessness, kindness, and patience of so many people. After that, I thought it was time to be going home to Canada. But as often happens to plans in our lives, causes and conditions from the great flow of life swept me off my feet. And that's why there are 2 Uzukis in this BCA Dharmathon today. Anyway, though I was already ordained, I felt fortunate to be accepted to the Institute of Buddhist Studies, where I had a chance to hear how our teaching was expressed in English and to learn about the ministry here. It was great to study the Dharma in my own language, but I received the best education about the BCA from interviews and surveys with the hundreds of members themselves as I researched my master's thesis. Ostensibly, the thesis was about women in the BCA, but in fact, the research revealed far more than that. I was happy to discover that for the most part, my subjects mainly spoke not about issues of patriarchy and sexual discrimination, but about challenges facing the BCA from the point of view of members, not as female members, but simply as members. The other large group I surveyed was the junior YBA in the Southern District, young people who would now be in their 30s. Comments from both women and youth demonstrated that in language and culture, the perspective was decidedly American, and they shared their modern-day expectations and concerns, and these things would guide me through all the years of my ministry. You know, you gotta love the earnestness, vitality, and the seeking minds of young people. All we have to remember is that Shakyamuni Buddha and Shinran Shonin were young people themselves when they embarked on their search and attained awakening. So we have to pay attention to them. There are lots of people here who are seeking the kind of peace that the Nembutsu gives us, but we need all kinds of ministers to share their understanding and experience of it in many different ways for many different people and perspectives. There's a legend about how Shakyamuni Buddha would address hundreds or thousands of people at a time, and while doing so, he had the ability to communicate with each one individually in a way that that person could understand according to their experience. If this is difficult to believe, perhaps it meant that he gave Dharma messages in different ways to resonate with different people, maybe at different times. Doesn't this make sense? Sometimes when I was still in Japan, I'd hear a Dharma talk and wonder how it would be expressed in English in a way that native speakers would connect with it. Maybe the examples or the metaphors might need to be different. This is really important, maybe even life and death. That's why countries use interpreters and not translators when they want to truly communicate something. A literal translation does not always clearly convey what the original means, and we should always ask, what does it mean? Shinran Shonin studied the sacred writings of great teachers from India, China, and Japan. He took great care to clarify these teachings for people of his day and wrote many texts in Japanese in a way that was easy for people then to understand. Through the centuries, others reached out to make the Nembutsu teaching understandable to others, and it has helped so many to transcend the difficulties and suffering. So how about us? Today, nobody can deny that the world is facing great challenges. The Nembutsu is the perfect teaching for this place and time, if only we're capable of communicating it in a way that will resonate with the people we're talking to. I'm not a scholar or some famous Dharma teacher. There are lots of people who know more about the scriptures and writings and philosophies than I do. All I know is that I came to walk on this particular life path thanks to my causes and conditions. Even without planning, and flawed as I am, I've been brought to realize how much compassion I've received all along. When I think about the incredible magnitude and benevolence of life that has got me here, it's so humbling. I've felt this since encountering the Nembutsu, So when I was given the privilege of serving at San Fernando Valley Honganji, I was only guided by one thing, the conviction that our teachings had to be the primary focus of our temple. Even if I failed, I would have had no regrets. It's not about being popular. It's not about membership numbers. It's not about an institution. If the teaching's available and if people can understand it on their own terms, they will gather, or at least they'll tune in these days. Not only existing followers, but also their grandchildren and other people of a wonderful array of backgrounds will fill our temples. The Dharma is for everyone, and after 16 years, I can only look back in wonder, joy, and deep gratitude for the inconceivable working of infinite, immeasurable life that has made it so. And may it always be so. But now that we're retired, if you're picturing us sitting around in some blissful state, it doesn't work that way. Ministers are just human beings too. Maybe it's COVID fatigue, who knows? But my dukkha rears its head again and again, feeling out of kilter, sometimes frustrated, maybe worried or even angry. Do I always say Namo Amida Butsu at those times? Or how about when I was able to get one of those precious vaccines last week? I know I felt relieved and grateful. I can't remember if I said the Nembutsu, but soon after getting that vaccine, I had an allergic reaction to the Band-Aid. And next thing you know, I was complaining about that and whining. But that's okay. It's okay. I'm not perfect. And because I'm such a foolish, ignorant being, I know deep down that great life is there for me always, comforting and supporting me. But to end on a lighter note, I admit it. When I want to take a break, I sometimes binge watch Korean dramas, so much that I'm starting to dream in Korean. But funny thing about the ones I've seen, a common theme is that many beings and causes and conditions had to come together to help the protagonist. So even in my sleep, I realize that the teaching is everywhere, if we care to hear it. At the end of the day, when I really do feel overwhelmed by all the terrible things that are happening around us, I know without a doubt that my life is not just my life, and I can keep going. May we all realize this and just go on with abiding peace of heart and peace of mind. Namo Amida Butsu, we are never alone. So, by the way, my husband and I don't talk to each other about what we're writing for our Dharma talks, but I too chose a passage by the late Bishop Reverend Kenbutsuji to end my talk. And this is how it goes. It's at the very end of his book. My life is fleeting and finite, and I do not know with certitude what tomorrow has in store for me. But in the transitory boundaries of my existence is the timeless flow of Amida's life. In the finite sound of my Nembutsu is Amida's voice of compassion, tirelessly calling me. Like a small stream that enters the mighty current of the great river, so does my insignificant life in the Nembutsu join the majestic flow of Amida's infinite life. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandabs, Namandabs, Namandabs. Thank you.
I would now like to present a certificate of appreciation to Reverend Patricia Uzuki. It reads as follows. In recognition of your 14 years of dedicated service as a Kaikyoshi of the Buddhist Churches of America, this certificate of appreciation is presented to you on this occasion of your retirement with deepest gratitude and appreciation. Thank you for helping to nurture the seed of the Nembutsu teaching here in America. May your life continue to be guided by Amida's infinite wisdom and compassion. Reverend Patty Uzuki, we're so fortunate that she happened to meet Reverend Fumi Uzuki in Japan, and I guess he swept her off her feet, and she was able to serve here in the Buddhist Churches of America, although she was pretty much set to serve in the Buddhist Churches of Canada. We were so fortunate to have had her years of service here and at the San Fernando Valley Honganji Buddhist Temple. Reverend Patty has made some great contributions to Buddhism in America. I think her book, Currents of Change, will be something that will be looked at years down the road. It was a great contribution to the study of women in Buddhism, especially in this country. And I think that a highlight of her career as well was her wonderful keynote address that she gave at the World BWA Convention that was held in Canada a few years ago. Our very best to Reverend Patty. Thank you for your dedicated years of service, and please take care and enjoy your retirement. She will also be receiving a certificate from the Honganji from Reverend Iwagami and a retirement gift from the BCA. Thank you.
The last speaker is Reverend Ronaldo Ken Kobata. Before I introduce him, please let me share with you the photo montage of Reverend Kobata. I hope you enjoyed the photo montage of Reverend Kobata. Now please let me briefly introduce him. Reverend Ronaldo Ken Kobata, Buddhist name Shaku Kengu, was born in November 1947 in Ogden, Utah, and grew up in San Francisco, California. He received a bachelor's degree from University of California, Berkeley, majoring in religious studies. He then attended the Institute of Buddhist Studies, IBS, and received a master's degree majoring in Buddhist studies. He took Tokudo ordination in March 1974 and received Kyoshi certification also in March 1974. He became a Kaikyoshi minister in May 1975. Reverend Kobata started his ministry at the White River Buddhist Temple in 1975. He also served Takoma Buddhist Church as a supervisor. In 1981, he moved to the Honpa Honganji Mission of Hawaii and started serving the Hawaii Betsuin. He also served Kafului Honganji and then Makawao Honganji in Maui while he was in Hawaii. He came back to the Buddhist Churches of America in 2005 and was assigned to the office of bishop as an executive assistant. He was also an English editor of Wheel of Dharma for 8 years. In 2009, he was assigned to the Buddhist Church of San Francisco. As a ministerial advisor of the 16th World Buddhist Women's Convention in 2019, he supported this big convention. In addition to that, he was actively involved in many community activities. In August 2020, he retired. Now we would like to have a Dharma message from Reverend Kobata. よろしくお願いします。
Naman naps, naman naps, naman naps, naman naps. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, good life, whenever you happen to be viewing this virtual Dharmathon. As I was introduced by Reverend Kyonobu Kuwahara, I'm Ron Kobata, who last August retired from the Buddhist Churches of America, and my assignment at the Buddhist Church of San Francisco. And so today, my colleagues who retired in 2020 are joining me in this virtual experience that probably we would say is unprecedented in BCA history. But I would like to begin by thanking the planners and organizers for this special event and all the committee people involved in putting on this year's BCA National Council meeting. It's amazing to consider how a year ago, many of us were gathered in Renton, Washington for the 2020 National Council, and then soon after discover this global pandemic that would eventually put a halt and change business as usual within not only the BCA, but around the world. And recently, we were sad to hear, reached a milestone of over 500,000 people in the United States who have succumbed to the virus just in 1 year. So at the time of the National Council, I'm sure we discussed all kinds of things, making plans for the future, having no idea about what was to unfold in literally a few weeks after. And then surprisingly, to learn how one of the initial major outbreaks of the coronavirus occurred not far from the hotel we were meeting in at a nursing home. But anyway, here we are in this virtual fashion to pause and reflect upon what it is that we take to heart as living the Nembutsu. And as we listen to the messages of my colleagues, it occurred to me what a unique group of people that I've been associated with who decided to retire in 2020. So in some respects, we were a very diverse group, even though we shared a common ethnic ancestry. Individually, I see that each of us were unique, even strange individuals who managed to take the bumpy road, the twists and turns, the slips and slides of the journey on our individual paths of the Nembutsu. Reverend Fumi Uzuki, we heard, was born in Kagoshima, Japan, and at age 9, came to Oxnard, California with his family. And there he was raised, going through school, and then beginning a career in IT, information technology. But again, due to the interesting, mysterious karmic conditions, he found himself commuting to the Institute of Buddhist Studies to take classes in preparation for the ministry. And being at the IBS, he had a fateful meeting with Miss Patty Kanaya, who had enrolled at the IBS after spending time in Japan and learning about Jodo Shinshu. But prior to that, she had begun her professional career as a civil servant with the Canadian government, and then a school teacher in Eastern Canada before making the move to Japan, and then again discovering Jodo Shinshu and deciding this is something she wanted to pursue. And so that's where they met and eventually married. Reverend Yukiko Motoyoshi, however, was born into a temple family in Fukui. And I understand that her paternal grandfather was a kaikyoshi in Central California prior to the Second World War. But Reverend Motoyoshi was brought to Hawaii to be raised when her father decided that he would want to become a kaikyoshi. And so, as a child, she and her family moved to Hawaii. But in Motoyoshi Sensei's case, she wasn't particularly appreciative of her faith tradition of her ancestors. But during college, she discovered and shifted her awareness and appreciation of the insights of Jodo Shinshu. And that inspiration is what led her to get into a serious study of Buddhism and then become a kaikyoshi with the Hawaii Kyodan in 1978. Reverend Kodo Umezu was also born into a temple family. But as a young man, after college, decided that he would want to experience being a minister overseas, and then was assigned, or actually given an appointment, to serve as a kaikyoshi with the Buddhist Churches of America. And he began his career in the early 1970s. And at the same time, he made a unique decision to experience America by, as far as I know, the first BCA minister to do so, he enlisted in the United States Navy to expand and deepen his sense of the American culture. I don't know if that was a wise move, but that's what he chose. So again, a very unique journey on the path of the Nembutsu. In my case, I was born into human life in Ogden, Utah, where my parents, who met in Heart Mountain internment camp, moved when the war ended. And then, from soon after I was born, I'm told, they moved to San Francisco. And for me, that's all I recall in my childhood, is living in San Francisco. And somewhere along the line, I had the go in to have a friend who was living in the apartment building with my family, a friend's mother, who one day asked my folks if they'd be interested in having me attend Sunday school at the Buddhist Church of San Francisco. And so that's where I was brought and enrolled in the Sunday school, attended the scouting program, eventually joining YBA in order to participate in the sports programs, and pretty much existed in that kind of non-committal, stumbling along the way life. But for me, being a baby boomer, which we all are, the civil unrest in America of the 60s and 70s had a major impact on my worldview. And it was also at that time I had the life-changing experience to encounter the Buddha Dharma as presented by the inspirational messages, teachings of the late Reverend Dr. Taitetsu Unno, who I consider my spiritual mentor. And through Unno Sensei's model of living Nembutsu, not as a dogma, not as a knowledge of teachings that we read in books or could perhaps recite, but as a sense of caring about living true and real life. And so this basis or foundation is what I'd like to share for today's Dharma message, starting with quoting a passage from the Tannisho, which are sayings of Shinran Shonin, as recorded by one of his students named Yuembo. But the text, Tannisho, begins, as many of you are aware, with the first chapter, which I'll, in a non-tech way, put on the screen. And so, if you'd like, you could join me in the recitation of the Tannisho with the mind of Gassho. Cared for by the inconceivable working of Amida's vow, I shall realize birth in the Pure Land. The moment you entrust yourself thus to the vow, so that the mind set upon saying the Nembutsu arises within you, you are immediately brought to care as the benefit of being grasped, never to be abandoned. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 So some of you who are familiar with the traditional translations of the opening verse or terms of the Tanisho may have noticed that I've changed the first words, which are presented as saved by, and then later the change of introducing the term care as. So that's the theme for my message today. Caring as living the Nembutsu. This is how I feel the ministry that I participated in was attempting to inspire and encourage and convey to us as caring, thoughtful, reflective human beings. And this came to me when I was thinking about this saying that recently I heard who the originator was, but for years I've had this note where people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so again, recently I learned that was stated by former President Theodore Roosevelt. But this idea of caring, I think, should be the essence of why and how we listen to the Dharma. To care about our life. We listen to the Dharma because we care that we live this finite experience in eternity, aware of the care that we receive from others, both known and unknown. And that's what we call the spirit of Nembutsu, the heart of Buddha Dharma. And so caring, I think, is the theme I'd like us to reflect upon for this year's 2021 BCA National Council and continue to be the basis of why we choose to participate in this spiritual journey. Because in this view, I feel that to care to live is to live to care. So caring to live, being willing to be involved, engaged, not only for our own individual advantage or benefits, but for the sense of being alive together in the Nembutsu that is the universal vow, the deepest wish in life that all beings be happy. And so this is why we live, is to care. And so, by the way, the acronym for alive, you'll see right behind me. Oh, by the way, this, I noticed that the Reverends Uzuki and Motoyoshi Sensei, they were able to arrange to give their talks in hondos. But in my situation here in Portland, I didn't decide to do that. And so I put this background quilt as my background. That was a gift from the minister's assistants at the Buddhist Church of San Francisco. And it's comprised of different panels that were taken from t-shirts that they had accumulated from the various affiliated organizations and different kinds of activities that we had been involved with over the years. And so this t-shirt here is one that was produced a couple of years ago, where I was offering that acronym about coming alive as the feeling of what it is to live the Nembutsu. So, to live the Nembutsu is to care. And that is the life that we are all given to realize. And so this is the acronym that I'd like to share for what it means to care, is consciously activating reflective empathy. So we make an effort to think and reflect, and then through that reflection, we come to sense the empathy that joins us together in oneness. And that care is the basis of how we can live, by listening to the Dharma, inspired by the Dharma, and valuing this finite life that we've been given as that opportunity. And with that sense of value, we realize what it is to be engaged, to be part of, to be present together in the oneness of the Nembutsu. That, again, as Shinran offered in the opening of the Tanisho, cared for by the inconceivable working of Amida's vow, I shall realize birth in the Pure Land. The moment you entrust yourself thus to the vow, so that the mindset upon saying the Nembutsu arises within you, you are immediately brought to care as the benefit of being grasped by Amida, never to be abandoned. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Okay, well, stay safe, stay sane, stay alive, aware of the oneness of immeasurable light in life, which unconditionally grasps and sustains all beings. Okay.
I would now like to present a certificate of appreciation to Reverend Ronald Kobata. It reads as follows: in recognition of your 45 years of dedicated service as a Kaikyoshi, which includes a number of years in Hawaii as well as BCA. This certificate of appreciation is presented to you on this occasion of your retirement with deepest gratitude and appreciation. Thank you for helping to nurture the seed of the Nembutsu teaching here in America. May your life continue to be guided by Amida's infinite wisdom and compassion. You know, I've known Reverend Kobata since I was just a college kid, and when he was first assigned to the White River Buddhist Temple. He was a minister that I looked up to, a young Sansei minister that I could relate to, and then I also received his kindness and guidance when I was studying in Japan, as he had also returned to Japan to study further. And he introduced me to many wonderful Nembutsu seekers and places to listen to the Dharma. Then we were able to serve again as ministers here in the BCA. I wish him the very best. I've also enjoyed numerous rounds of golf with him. I hope that I can someday golf with him up in Portland, Oregon. Enjoy your retirement. Please take care. And thank you for your dedicated years of service. Reverend Kobata will also be receiving a certificate from the Honganji from Reverend Iwagami and a retirement gift from the BCA. Congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the ministers who shared their profound and inspiring Dharma messages with us this afternoon. We're truly grateful to Reverend Fumiaki Uzuki, Reverend Yukiko Motoyoshi, Reverend Patricia Kanaya Uzuki, and Reverend Ronald Kobata for taking this time to reflect upon their ministry and to inspire us with the insights from their Dharma journey. We look forward to continuing our journey with them in the Nembutsu and to learning more from them in the coming years. This will conclude today's Dharmathon. We thank you for joining us, and finally, I invite you to join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Nam Amida Butsu, Nam Amida Butsu, Nam Amida Butsu, Nam.